Hello there. Goal setting with a growth mindset is the number one most important thing if you want to accomplish your goals, achieve what you want in your life. If you're a small business owner, it is so important for actually hitting your targets and growing your business. This channel is dedicated to productivity, hitting your goals, and really growing a business, creating an amazing strategy. Subscribe if you are a small business owner. But let's talk about actionable tips for setting the right goals with a growth mindset right now. Okay, so what is a growth mindset and how is it different from a fixed mindset? So a growth mindset is really centered around actually believing that with enough hard work, determination, effort, you can actually get a lot better and learn and grow, improve. Whereas a fixed mindset is really believing that, hey, I'm just no good at piano. I'm just not good at running a business. I'm just no good at singing or all things like that. With classrooms, they had some students where students that did really well, they told them, wow, you must be really smart. In another group, they say, wow, you did really well. You must have worked super duper hard. And as time went on, the students that were told, wow, you must have worked super hard, actually did much, much better because they believed that if they put in enough hard work, they would do really well. Whereas other students believed that they did well just because they're naturally smart. But then as soon as it got difficult, they would think, wow, I guess I'm not as smart as I thought. It messed with their identity that they had, and they performed much, much worse. So that's one element of fixed mindset, growth mindset. It's different than just focusing on your weaknesses, especially if you're running a business, there are certain things you want to delegate and outsource. You don't have to get better at every single thing you're bad at, but it is the belief that, you can really learn, grow, adapt at the things that matter to you. So if you really want to be a public speaker, but are feeling like maybe I don't have that natural ability, it's the belief, hey, I can be an amazing public speaker. Another element of a growth mindset is really not blaming other people, not blaming outside circumstances, really focusing on what can I do? How can I adapt? There's a lot of challenging things that'll be thrown our way, a lot of things you can't anticipate, but it's about not being defined by that and just always looking at what can I do even with everything that's happening. Right now we're going through a crazy time with being stuck at home. I'm adapting in a big way. A lot of small business owners are, but it's focusing on there is a lot of things that I can still be doing. There's still progress that I can be making. And I actually believe it's stronger if you can make a lot of goals that are centered around the actions that you will take. So for example, Michael Phelps had the larger goal of being an Olympic athlete, but he really made an incredible system for showing up, working harder than anyone else, just sticking to this amazing diet. And it was really taking those actions that made him hit that higher goal, that bigger target, actually showing up and doing the actions. So I think it's so powerful to work backwards from your goals. So if you're saying, hey, I want to hit $100,000 this year, saying, okay, in order to hit that, what would I need? Okay, I would need, let's say, 2 leads per week, okay? In order to do that, how many people would you need to call or what actions would you need to take? So you're starting with your goal and working backwards, and then you can say, hey, okay, I need to make 50 cold calls a week, and I need to do 1 blog post a week and get better and better and better and continue with his actions. If I solely had the goal only centered around income, I would feel like I was moving so far away from my goal right now with everything happening. But I know in terms of actions and progress and growing my audience, I'm still making big progress even though I'm needing to make changes. I do think SMART goals are really powerful, especially when we do them with a growth mindset. Now this is an acronym and I've heard different variations, but the most common is specific, measurable, achievable, reasonable, and time-based. So really quickly, specific. We want actually something that is specific and not just like, I want to get in shape, or I want to lose some weight, I want to make some money, I want to get rich. We actually want a specific target in mind, and that can be an outcome, or it can be, hey, I want to work out, for 100 days in a row for 30 minutes, or I want to make 30 cold calls a week for 12 weeks or things like that. I actually do really like the 12-week time frame. It's just a time frame where you can really be super focused, and if it's a yearly goal, it's just like February or March, it's easy to like fall behind and be like, I've got so much time left. But if it's 12 weeks, you really have to hustle the entire time. So measurable, you actually want to know when you've actually hit the goal, and you want to know when you're halfway toward your goal and things like that. And this is why I like having it based around actions, because if my goal is to work out 100 days in a row for 30 minutes, at day 50, I know I'm halfway there. Whereas if my goal is to lose 10 pounds, like when I started one new workout routine, it took like a while for me to see any results. It was like 60 days where I was like, man, this just doesn't feel like it's working, but I'm gonna stick with the process and keep going. And then all of a sudden, I just saw really big changes really quickly. Same with my business. When I first started, it was just a lot of work up front without a lot of results. And then all of a sudden it started taking off really, really quickly. Achievable. So you don't want there to be doubt in your mind whether it's actually possible to achieve this. So if it's to go to space or be a billionaire or something like that, it's just really challenging if you have that doubt in your mind if it's even possible. Now, connected with that is reasonable. So you do want to dream really big and have ambitious goals, but often you want to think, is it reasonable in this time frame? So talk with someone who wanted to go from 0 to 10 million in 1 year. The challenge is, if you have in your mind it has to go incredibly quickly, you're going to face so many setbacks and challenges, and stuff really could take 5 times, 10 times as much work as you think it will. So you want to be reasonable in terms of the time frame, ambitious, but also recognizing that it takes time to build a profitable business or learn an amazing skill or stuff like that. Also, if your goal is to go from never ever working out to working out 90 minutes a day, 7 days a week, that's also going to be really difficult. The book Atomic Habits is actually incredibly good because that one is centered around actually making things pretty easy to form that habit. So if you want to start running, rather than trying to run 5 miles a day, it's like, put on your shoes. And then the likelihood that you'll actually run a little bit, if you put on your running shoes, goes up quite a bit. If you make something just incredibly easy where you can just put on your workout clothes or set something by the door, just your chances of actually doing it will go up. And then once you build that habit, it becomes easier and easier. So it's kind of like ramping your way up slowly over time, but actually starting with that habit, even if it's something that just takes 30 seconds or 1 minute, starting to build that habit. Time-based, that's the last thing. Yeah, you actually do want some sort of timeline. If it's just, I'll get this done at some day, there's not that sense of urgency. It's much harder to track. For me, I'll usually try to do something for 12 weeks straight, and often I'll set another goal to do it for another 12 weeks, but just having some timeline that you're trying to stick with is really powerful. Okay, so how do you actually go about setting these goals? I highly recommend, in terms of big ambitious goals, only having a couple. If you're trying to do 25 things at once, that's just going to mean you're not really making progress toward any of them. Now you can have a bigger goal of making more income and then be like, okay, I need to be taking these actions and doing 4 or 5 things down here in order to actually hit this target, hit this goal. But you just don't want to, be trying to learn piano and grow a business and learn to dance and 10 other things, because then you're not really gonna make big progress on any of them. Like I said, you wanna work backwards from the top. Here's the outcome I want, but what actions do I need to take actually in order to hit these goals? And really just believing in yourself that you can get better and learn, grow, adapt. It just takes a lot of hard work. Another key thing with goal setting is really thinking emotionally, what will it mean if I hit this goal? What impact will that make? So if your goal is to make $1 million, think, okay, what would my life look like? What freedom would that offer me? How could I help out others? What impact could I make on the world? What do I want my everyday to look like? Really making that emotional connection will make it much easier, because if you're trying to build a business, you're gonna get kicked in the teeth a whole lot. So you want that longer vision to really, like a guiding light, to constantly move toward. Now, I did create an amazing resource. It's a course on finding your #1 priority every single day, setting goals, achieving them, actually some templates and a process to go through. I use it every single day to hone in on the things that are gonna make the biggest difference every single time. I really tried to make it as affordable as possible. The link to that is gonna be down below. I also created a video on productivity, how to massively increase your productivity, get a lot more done. Getting more done, but really like focusing on the right things that'll actually make the biggest impact. So that video is gonna go right over there. I wanna thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll hopefully see you in that one over there.